Everyone, welcome to this meeting of the Policy and Resources Committee. We've had apologies from councillors Byron and Rennie. Are there any further apologies?
Byron.
Byron. Not received any other apologies. Okay, thank you. Declarations of interest. Are there any declarations of interest in relation to any items on the agenda today? No. Okay. Minutes of the previous meeting. So pages 5 to 12. Having a look at the minutes. Does anyone have any matters arising? No, thank you, Chair. No. In that case, can those minutes be approved? Agreed. Thank you. Okay, thanks. Item 4. So we've got new training and development academy and the fire station at Long Lane. Maria?
Can members please note that there's a typographical error on page 18 of the agenda and it's paragraph 40 of the report. The sentence reads, all of the above changes and scope variations is approximately a 1% increase of the total project budget. The actual percentage increase is 2.5%. Please note that this does not change the monetary amount being discussed or requested for members to consider, as it's an error in the percentage of the amount, not the overall figure. And if once you've heard the report, members please agree to consider the report that the amendment. So the sentence now reads that it's 2.5% on the report.
Okay, thanks. Chief?
Okay, thanks, Chair. I'll just introduce the report, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask Stuart Woods to take on a fly through where we're up to in regards to the Training Development Academy, and then so we'll be able to ask Stuart any questions pertaining to the fly through that you'll witness, and then I'll return back to the report to conclude. So, first, the report is to inform members of the current progress regarding the construction of the new multi-pump fire station and Training Development Academy and National Resilience Centre of Excellence at Long Lane and Aintree. And the recommendation is recommended that members note the contents of the report and progress being made to date and approve the increase in the overall budget by £1 million as detailed in the financial section to be funded by a drawdown from the capital reserve. I'm going to add a little bit more detail about how the £1 million is made up and why we think that's a significant improvement on where we are now to where we want to be. But before I do that, I'll just ask Stuart to introduce the film and the fly through. Do
you want to take them off?
Yeah. Thank you. It's only this was taken on Saturday, Monday morning, so it's most recent footage of the site. So I'll pause it as we play through the site. So you can see this is the view from Long Lane now. We're just going over the Jeffrey Humble football pitches, and you can see this is the main fire station for appliance bays onto the fire station, and this will be the main entrance into the site when it's finished. So you can see the construction is well underway. So within, I just pause it there, we're on week 41 of an 80-week programme. So you can see fire station, the roof is on now, and water site. We're getting up to the first level with the brick, and we'll be ready to put the red cladding. So you'll have seen pressed on since that into the red cladding box, so we're ready to put that on. You can see this will be the main car park, and this is the attenuation tank to ensure that we don't overwhelm the local network in regards to the surface water. As we go through the fly through, this will be the main road into the site, which is starting to be formed. This will be the visitors car park. This will be the staff car park. I can just pause it roughly here. This is the USAR garage, so this is an 8-bay for the USAR pods. So they will come straight out here and down to the side of the fire station.
Just for benefit, USAR is there in search and rescue.
So they'll have an immediate response straight onto Long Lane. At the rear of the USAR garage, you can see the footings now being put in, which is the new garage for the TDA appliances. So members approved that back in February in the Budget Authority meeting in February. So work started, and steel will be delivered in the next week or so for the TDA garage to be installed. As we continue, we're getting now into the external training areas. So you can see this is the 3 terraced houses, so we will have 2 carbonaceous burns in the house, and one of them will be LPG. Next to these houses will be the fire attack units, so they'll be moved, and there's a new one in the report to put a new containerised fire behaviour unit in that location. And then within the area here, there's also a scrubber, they call it, which cleans the smoke from the carbonaceous burns before we put it back into the atmosphere. This is a 6-storey BA house, which is quite a big build, probably the first in the UK of this height, and this is the one that meets all the Grenfell inquiries. So this is well under construction now, so all the exterior walls are starting to go up, all the interior walls are starting to be built, and the roof is on. So this is well established and well on with the build now. As you can see, we'll get into this in a minute, you can see a lot of spoil is still taken off the site, and the report mentions that in the unforeseen costs is to do with the amount of material that we've got to take off site. It's a 12-acre site, so you can see the sheer scale of it. Next here is the dog compound, so this will be the dog agility for the rescue dogs. As we go around, I'll just pause it again there. This is going to be a high volume pumping scenario, so we'll be able to test the high volume pump, which we can't do at the moment in Merseyside. So we'll be able to put the high volume pump here and then pump it around the site. We've got a hazmat area, so you can see the foundation in, and the steel will be brought onto site in the next couple of weeks, and it will be simulating a fire in industrial unit, something like Shell, with a lot of pipes and oil scenarios. Next to this is the USAR rig, and next to there will be the rubble pile. So this will be a 30 metre by 10 metre high rubble pile for the search and rescue dogs, and there'll be tunnels underneath it as well. And then in this space is one of the classrooms that we're proposing to be installed within the reports as well. So the space in here which allows for one of the classrooms to facilitate both of these units. As we carry on, you can see this is a motorway scenario, so we've got the base course now in for the motorway, so there'll be a motorway gantry on here, and this is then the external development plan for future. So this is where in the report it mentions the levels, so you can see the height of the fence and the spoil. We've had discussions with the planners, and the planners want us to lower the levels of the site, so we were intending to try and put as much spoil on that level and level it out.
Yeah, it says that the planners said that there would be objections from local residents about the land being too high and spoiling the view. But looking from that there on 3 sides, I don't know whether there's residential accommodation to the left.
Yeah.
But it seems a bit of a spurious argument.
Yes, I pointed that out to them.
And I'm on the planning committee.
Yeah, so I think it's just in the future, so you don't know. So because the fence, you can't really see it from here, but you are quite high. So when you're stood on that mound, your knees are probably the height of the fence. So in future development, you can see over the fence into someone else's land. So they've asked us to lower it by 0.5 metre. That's why. So in planning terms, we'd like to keep as much spoil on the site as we can, because it's expensive to take off. But we've got to a position where we found a happy medium with the planners and with the future development of the other sites as well. So that's why the planners look at it.
Costing a lot, though, isn't it?
Yeah, it's 12 acres, so it's a lot of spoil to be taken off site, and now we're talking a few hundred wagons of spoil off the site.
Okay, was that part of the planning conditions?
Yes, so we have the planning approval, and then part of the planning conditions, you go back and submit your plans to the planners and get a detailed discussion with them. And that. We made assumptions on the contract with Waits of what we thought the levels would be, but when we get to the final cut and fill process, you get to an agreed level on that site. This is where there'll be a wellbeing garden in this site, and then as we carry on around, you can see the start of a railway track here. So this will be where the rail scenario is. It's not been formed yet, but this will be the tunnel. So there'll be a tunnel in this location, railway track, and then there'll be a deep animal rescue pit around this location and another area for a potential classroom if we've asked members to approve today. In this location, we will be installing 2 towers and a road traffic collision scenario on a parade ground as well. So as you can see now, we're moving back into the main CDA building. Just pause it there. This is, in this location, there's a conference room and then there's a balcony which will come out and will form a balcony in this area. So you'll be able to be in the conference room and then come out into the balcony and look out externally over the training ground. There's an indoor training location within here, so it's about 3 appliance bays, and then you've got the command and control suite within that area as well. As we come along, you can see now the main CDA building, and you can see we've got the roof on the main CDA building, we've got the waterproof membrane on the sides, and then the Corten weathering steel will be installed in the next couple of weeks, and we're starting to do that. So the buildings, or the main 3 buildings, will be all watertight within a month. This then is the foundation for the glulam glass atrium part of the building. So within this location, we'll have the reception area, and we will have a restaurant area within this location, and then around here will be some external seating as well. And then we finish there.
Thanks, Jim.
Okay.
So, thank you. So, of course, that is literally in the last few days, we've kind of had that reduced to board members' perspectives about what we are asking for within this report, but it shows the progress that's been made. And I'm sure Stuart will field any questions that members may have in regards to the bill so far, but I can reiterate some of the points that I will make for some of the newer members onto the authority. There will be a better training facility in the country. That is right up there. And when we talked about the investments in the training infrastructure for the service, we were quite clear on we wanted our firefighters to train against the foreseeability of risk. If you look at the report itself, on paragraph 15, it talks about the zones and how we zone the area off in relation to all the foreseeable risk that we envisage at this moment in time across Merseyside. But equally, we recognise that when you build a facility of such quality, there's the potential for national training and international training being delivered from that particular location. And we are working on that as we look at the lead for national resilience. So, from that, we may well, alongside delivering our own training, deliver some of the national resilience training from that location. And we are exploring kind of conversations internationally. But the benefit of that being the money that's invested through those kind of initiatives being redirected into covering certainly the costs of the training facility, but also that then something could be getting redirected into the communities of Merseyside, which again is part and parcel of the kind of assumptions and the discussions we had with the members at that particular time. But the training facilities will be incredible, and equally part of that is 2 of the aspects of it: the station itself, and the station is part of our continual progressive improvement in the number of fire appliances available to the residents across Merseyside. So it's part of those plans to move from what was 26 through to 32. It will be delivered on the back of the merging of the 2 stations, so Croxford and Aintree, and actually it will make us faster to respond as well. So very much predicated on a better response as well as better facilities for our firefighters. From anyone in regards to the facilities, we will have our fire control operating out of there as a secondary control room, so a fallback position, and we will have national resilience centre of excellence there, which embeds that relationship that Merseyside Fire and Rescue Service has with the Home Office as the lead authority for the national resilience work. So very much about what we've discussed, that aspiration and that real kind of focus now coming to life. What we'd also discussed was managing, maintaining it within a cost envelope, and we've certainly sought to do that over a period of time. And Stuart would have referenced the land at the back, which I would suggest is laying fallow at this moment in time. So in effect, I think we're probably taking up maybe 9, 10 acres of the site, with a couple of acres which are spare and available to us. And, and the intention being around the foreseeability risk and how things change, to be able to utilise that and continue to develop that within a financial envelope. And we weren't in a position to embark on some work there, and we had plans for a shipping port and so on and so forth. We haven't been able to get to that point yet, but we will do, and we'll continue to bring that back to the authority as and when we feel that is affordable in the kind of context of delivering what we deliver for the service. What we have done in this report is to seek to reinstate or put things back in that we've taken out to make sure it fits the cost envelope. And the two main things within this report are the classrooms that Stuart referenced earlier on. Some of the other issues which I'll happily go through, but they're smaller in regards to the costs. And the reason behind the reintroduction of the classrooms, because the way that we've zoned the site is very much about delivering training within the zone and not having to break out of that zone to come back into the centre for lunch and showers and so on and so forth. To be able to continue to work through and have a working lunch on site right on top of the training zone, very much a principle that's applied in the States and in the USA, and very much aligned with our logic and our thinking of delivering very impactful training and very immersive training too. And that's the main crux of what we're bringing back to the authority. And the report details that at length. It also picks up some of the other considerations that Stuart brought to your attention as we've gone through the presentation and the flag through some of the kind of conditions of the ground, the removal of kind of detritus and so on and so forth, and then smaller variations in regards to training facilities, towers, refurbishments of towers, and replacement of the TAC units, which all members would have required doing anyway at some point, even when we stayed on the old training development academy, so those costs would have been absorbed, but we brought them through in this report. But the main kind of area I want you to kind of consider and be cited on is the external classrooms that were reinserted into the plan on the basis of now being affordable for a multitude of reasons, which we will cover in part of the report back into the service. And so that's the kind of substantial part of it. What I would do is re-emphasise the point that Liz made previously around paragraph 40, where there's a correction, so it should read 2.5% increase as opposed to 1%. But the report itself and the progress that's been made is there for members' consideration, and I draw back into the recommendation itself, which is that members note the content of the report and the progress being made to date, and approve the increase in overall capital budget of £1 million, which takes it to the overall cost to 40.9 million from just under 40 million. So happy to take any questions in relation to anything I've said. I'm sure Stuart will do around the site and the development and the build, and Nick as the project lead for the authority will have to pick up any specific detail. I don't know the answers, which is probably how we like it.
Do members have any questions? Okay. Councillor Murray?
Thanks, Chair. Yep, I just wonder how many students or trainees the classrooms can accommodate. And I also, because I'm coming into this little midway, I'm interested to know how many trainees the whole site can accommodate. And then, because I want to see as a percentage what that does, because it seems to me for the site to be efficient, it needs to be using all its spaces. And by putting 2 classes out on the site like that, you're leaving other spaces free in the main building.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yeah, yes and no. Yeah, clearly the model is predicated on training not out in the kind of environment, and so I mean that's kind of well practiced and well understood. What we've had over the course of the last number of years is what we've got now, which is about a 5.2 acre site, which doesn't meet our needs. And certainly some of the kind of training and the national training we've had to passport onto other services and push away from Merseyside, irrespective of the fact that we would have benefited from that kind of that training being delivered here. And equally, the site sometimes gets overwhelmed in regards to simple things like parking, and we've sought to accommodate parking needs there. We are very confident, still not talk about the specifics of the numbers, but we're very confident that the demand is there for all of those classrooms to be effectively utilised over the course of the day. So you've got Merseyside firefighters utilising the facilities, and you've also got some of our partner agencies, so North West Ambulance Service, who extensively utilise our facilities as it is. You've got a conference facility there of 100 odd plus, which we know, when people seek to access these conference facilities, they are oversubscribed, and so we know that they will that will be utilised. And then you've got the national training needs, which we feel we can meet, and equally some international capacity that we're seeking to build in there too. So we are very kind of cautious and confident that all of those facilities will be getting utilised pretty effectively, so we won't be just building something for it to lay fallow and there'll be classrooms vacant somewhere else. We're very much knowing what we know now, that we probably need that capacity within the infrastructure. Stu, do you want to talk about anything?
Yeah, classrooms is probably the wrong name for them as well, because each one is specific as well. So the one that's currently built now is for BA classroom training, so it's got a BA compressor within there, it's got BA wash facilities, and it does the high-rise building and the carbonation firms within the terraced house, and it allows them to do that training from that specific classroom. One of the classrooms in between the USAR and the other, it's got like a partition wall like this. So all classrooms are designed to have 12 people within the classroom. So each classroom accommodates 12 candidates or trainees, and that's what a normal size course is. But when we run the USAR and the bigger national events, the new classroom can open the middle wall, so it'll accommodate up to 40 people within that space as well. The other classroom is more of a road traffic collision classroom, so it's got an external canopy which allows us to then put the car actually at the side of the building and continue training in adverse weather facilities as well. And it's next to the animal rescue, it's next to where the train is. So it's got different fume cupboards in. So each of the external classrooms is sort of accommodates the external training events as well, so they don't have to go back to the main TBA classroom.
That's great, thank you.
Yeah.
Sounds like we're utilising the space very well indeed.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. I thought the Scottish Power Saving was a really good idea. That effectively, my sums are right. About 11.6% of the overall, well, let's call it 11%, because it's slightly over 40 million now. I was just wondering how long that lease was for.
Stuart?
Then final details, we're in discussion with Scottish Power.
Okay,
So I'm not sure if it's 11%, it's 124,000. So at the moment, there is a substation on the site.
Yeah.
And we've got no legal documentation in place for that substation.
The land ownership.
Yes, having said that, what would happen, they would take us to the Secretary of State, and I'm sure they would grant them permission, because it feeds an awful wide area there. Yeah. So basically, they're doing the work in the street corners for free, which is equivalent to about 125,000. So the final detail of the lease discussion with me, because it's part of the City Council have the freehold of the land as well, so they have to just be involved in that final detail. Yes,
I'll be there.
I'm glad you clarified about the external classrooms, because when I read that paragraph of those, we just having some tables and chairs and people sitting outside as a classroom setting. But you've explained that it's because of all the other extra facilities and equipment that's required.
Yeah.
But are they going to be mobile, or will they?
No, the fixed classrooms, they are fixed classrooms. So the classroom by the user has the partition wall, so that opens up like here, so you can accommodate it bigger. class of 40 people normally come for the USAR training. And the RTC, as I said, is more around road traffic and allows that training.
And the other thing to consider as well as we've been talking now, frequently around contaminants and so on and so forth, and you get kind of dirty classrooms, you get clean classrooms, and what we wouldn't want to do with people. Going into the kind of the cleaning areas and contaminating them, but equally, in relation to disrobing, getting out of the kit, getting out of your, and then going and spending half an hour getting disrobing, going in, getting something to eat, and then coming back in and getting changed again. You lose a whole kind of considerable amount of training time, and so if we're able to train on site, young people to put something down, go into the classroom with it on some kind of procedural stuff, and then we go back out and apply that again, and then keep coming back in. It's very conducive to learning.
Not saying what the soil, what's the quality of that soil?
Not very good. So the ground burning capacity, because we delayed the start as well into the winter, and part of the issue with the ground conditions is the ground burning capacity of the soil as well. Right? So we've mixed it, sorted it, done as much as we can with the soil, and used the best soil that we can. And then the idea is we don't want to. You try and keep all the contaminants on the site as well, so you don't want to take the expensive stuff off the site, and that, so we manage the soil as critical to that, and also manage it on site and into that soil.
And the other two points, do you know when you're saying about the future development of the site? Was it suggested or something like using for the water rescue?
Yeah, and so when we frame up, and we can do it with water rescue and a multitude of venues across Merseyside, but when we looked at the cutting our cloth accordingly to the budget that we had, and making sure that we didn't cut the resources that are available to the public, we've chosen to just suspend the work around marine rescue. So we're going to put a ship in port, and then we're going to utilise the same water facility there for water rescue and so on and so forth. But we haven't got the money at this moment in time to kind of commence on that phase of the build, but we will build that into, this is, if you classify this as phase one, it will be a phase two and potentially a phase three. But again, you go back to the foreseeability of risk and our ability to trade external, we've got really good working relationships around the ports and so on and so forth, Canal Air, so we know we can get access to vessels, but it's been a financial consideration of the most, and so that will be part of phase two. The members shouldn't be surprised if, I don't know, maybe 18 months, 2 years from now, we come back with proposals to extend the utilisation of the site, equally dependent on the environment that we're operating within, and the kind of access to national and international training. We may well be tailoring what that offer is to reflect the training needs more broadly outside of just the Merseyside.
I find it not because obviously what the facility can be there, it is a making investment to do generally from this. And are we still looking at possibly an income generation or somebody who knows that to get some external people training or international training?
Yeah, I'm sure they would comment around income generation and on our ability to do that. But what I would say is, if we are training nationally or internationally, that training can offset some of the costs that we are incurring as a service, and if we're able to offset some of the costs that we incur, and the purpose will be to reinvest that back into the communities of Merseyside. So it's not necessarily income generation, but certainly it's a way of offsetting the costs that the authority would endure for running the facility in the first instance, and spending it across the whole of the offer. So potentially we will look at someone who will run the training development academy in the longer term. What we've got at this moment in time is it's incremental. So the bill comes in, we certainly need to service our own organisational needs around for strategy training and so on and so forth, and some of the more specialist training linked into our IMP and our specialist capabilities. Nick already has control and managed property right over the National Resilience training budget, that allows us to train more effectively from that site than we've done up until this point. And we are exploring opportunities around potential international work, because we know, based on the status Merseyside has globally in regards to fire and rescue, that people want to trade with us. However, we haven't taken those through to the county to the final point, but we will start to try and pilot some work just to test the water and see what's achievable in the course of the next number of months.
Councillor Wood?
I was going to ask about the commercialisation aspect, but Dave, you asked 3 questions on the trot, so, and it was that exploration of commercialisation and being able to use the conference facilities externally beyond the offer of training for fire services and rescue and the rest of it. So it was just whether or not those conversations, I'm aware from a business aspect that there've been some initial conversations, but I just don't know whether they want to.
Yeah, and look, and that may be something that come back to focus in on a learning lunch or something like that, without going into much of the specifics at this moment in time, just to give members sight of some of the work that we are proposing or kind of considering really, notwithstanding the continuity area, and just kind of make sure that you're clear on, there's a national theatre, there's a Merseyside training offer, there's a national training opportunity, and there's an international training opportunity, and we would seek to exploit all of those things, but in a really kind of considered and thought through way.
Say, we've already asked.
Any other comments? I know how you feel, Councillor Wood, because I was going to ask about the marine training unit.
Ah, well. Look to the chair.
I won't ask it. I was going to ask if still have space on site, if it's still something that we're looking at to do in the future, but I guess we've got clarity on that now. So, looking at the report, I'm too pleased about the Scottish Power situation. I'm glad that we've managed to find a way of keeping our costs down. Looking at the changes in scope, whether it's the issue with the ground condition, the thermos training tower, the fire behaviour attack unit, the electrical vehicle simulator, and so on. I'm certainly content that these are all definitely either unforeseen or things that we've decided to adopt later on in the programme. And I'm still pretty comfortable with the costings as well. So with all that being said, do we agree the recommendations as they're set out on page 13 of the agenda?
Agreed.
Yeah. Okay, thank you very much. So moving on to item 5, we've now got the long-term capability management contract extension. Chief?
So the deputy will take this one.
Chair. Before we read the report, really just highlight a few areas to members as they start reading the report. The report's based on our role as the legal authority for national resilience, which we have held since 2017. As we all know, national resilience has been within the UK Fire Rescue Service since 2004, and all of the equipment that was purchased then, approximately 150 to 200 million pounds at that time, was delivered to the FRSs in 2004, and now due to be replaced in 2024. So it all had a 20-year asset refresh. At the same time, a contract was put in place to deliver the long-term capability management of all of the needs for the specialist equipment and the vehicles. That agreement is with Babcock Critical Services. The project to replace all of the equipment, which is called New Dimensions 2, and we are playing a lead role in determining what the new look for national resilience or the new dimensions will look like post-2024. Due to no funding being received at the last comprehensive spending review to deliver the project, a new bid is now being put in place for the next CSR, whenever that may be, potentially 2025. As there is a gap between the end of the current Babcock's contract, which was aligned to the original 20-year projection from 2004, so to 2024, we need to extend that arrangement with Babcock's or with another provider to ensure all the national resilience equipment and the fleet is fit for purpose and operational use. The purpose of the report in front of you is to inform members that the long-term capability management contract is coming to an end on the 30th of September 24, and the recommendation is that members approve the 4-year extension to the contract with Babcock Critical Services from 1st of October 24 to the 30th of September 28. The current contract has operated well since novation, with no reported issues with the key performance indicators which we have with Babcock's. Ahead of the contract end date and with a future tender process in mind, a review of the LTCM contract commenced. However, due to the uncertainties surrounding the new dimensions to work, such as the CSR, no money being received at that time, the onboarding of the new broad terrorist attack teams, and the enhanced logistic support capabilities changing, the timescale required to undertake a full tender exercise, this was reconsidered in light of the option to extend the contract. Following consultation between both MFRA and Home Office officers, extending the current contract was considered the correct approach. Babcock successfully presented the proposal to MFRA and Home Office delegates in March, where timescales for ministerial and authority approval were noted. MFRS were notified that the extension proposal had received ministerial approval on the 8th of June 23. And with the financial implications, all funds for the extension on the grant and the Home Office grants are met by the Home Office for approximately £6.5 million a year through the Home Office. So the intent to extend the current contract from 2024 to 2028, which will oversee hopefully the delivery of all the next generation national resilience equipment, which will be rolled out to all of the services. I'm happy to take any questions.
Yes, thank you, Chair. This is where we perform a particular role, and where it moves from the officers who generally manage national resilience to members. And the Home Office don't have what we've got right now, right here, which is this level of scrutiny of decision making. And they like that. There is no alternative really here. This is because the government decided to cancel the capital spend. We've got to limp on with what we've got, and actually, what it obviously does is it puts it into the next government, and a comprehensive spending review round potentially, and hopefully we'll pick up the capital spend. It was 115 million was discussed. Whether it will end up being that much in terms of replacement of the new dimensions equipment. This we've got to do, but what we have to do also is ensure for an incoming government, and this is what we're doing at the FSMC, is setting out a pathway for the next government to consider a number of things. This is one of them, capital spend on a large amount. It doesn't have to be day one, it could be spread over a period, but we need to lobby strongly and hard for a refreshed programme of this essential capital equipment, or England, it's not used to UK PLC, England PLC will be the worst of it, because we will have to declare an incapacity to deal with a number of potential terrorist issues. We're not there yet. But these are implications if we don't do that. This, I don't think we've got any choice about. I could ask the question, okay, so if in 2024, 25, the government come up with a new programme, the new programme starts, will we be able to change this contract to deal with the new equipment that starts to come on at that end? Well, I'm sure it would be yes, it's flexible enough. But this is just the repair and maintenance contract. We've got a lobby on the capital contract as well.
Any other questions, comments? No? Okay, in that case, can we agree the recommendations are set out on page 31 of the agenda? Okay, item 6, operational response structural changes.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. The purpose of this report is to inform members of the revised operational response structure implemented as part of the budget setting process for 2023-2024. Members will be aware we allocated budgets to support this particular recommendation. And the recommendation is that members note the revised operational response structure, which sees an additional 20 supervisory manager roles enter the establishment. And that's predicated on probably an 18-month pilot where we sought to bring back the crew manager role into the service. Members will recall over a period of time it's soon moved to a watch manager only model. However, the feedback that we had from staff over the course of the last probably 2-3 years really was that they felt that the jump from firefighter to watch manager was quite significant, and actually it was putting off individuals seeking to progress into managerial roles. And that's probably exacerbated when you reference the quality impact assessments around some of the protected characteristics, and particularly around gender. And so the reintroduction of the crew manager role allows individuals to step through from firefighter into that supervisory role, first line manager, and then to managing a watch, and then subsequently onwards. And self-evidently, it's been really well received by staff. It provides the authority with some more managerial resilience in regards to maintaining appliances and keeping them available. It equally, in part of this proposal, sought to address probably an inequality wherein you were in one duty system or one station, you had the opportunity to go through the crew manager and onto watch manager and some of the other duty systems, particularly low level activity risk. There wasn't a vehicle for moving through in the same way. As a result of that, and having the finance to be to support that, we took that to the budget strategy meeting, and that was kind of ratified by the authority. And this is now a report coming back, which says, that decision is now being implemented across the authority in its totality. Again, it just reinforces that progressive thinking, and that we've adopted more laterally about that reinvestment back into frontline services. As I say, the report itself covers the staff implications, which are all positive. The quality impact assessment, again, is positive in regards to the opportunities that it provides for staff. And again, if I just took you to looking at the quality impact assessment, particularly on page 50, it talks about what the actual or potential impact is on sex or gender. Home Office Fire and Rescue Service Statistics 2022 demonstrate that women in crew manager positions in Merseyside Fire and Rescue Service jumped from 3.6 in 2021 to 10.6 in 2022. And that self-evidently is one of the real strong cases for kind of continuing to embed the crew manager role across the service and supporting that progression, particularly around gender, the length and breadth and up and down the organisation. So probably nothing further to add, Chair, in relation to the report itself. Only to just reiterate the recommendation, which is that members note changing the response structure to see the additional 20 supervisory manager roles established as per the budget.
Members have any questions on this? I just wanted to say that I thought it seems to me that offering the additional career progression route seems like a sensible idea to me. It gives people a chance who might not feel confident going into a more senior management position to take that middle step. I'm glad that there's a full quality impact assessment, because we know that quite often that reticence particularly affects people from certain backgrounds, particularly women, particularly minorities who might not feel as confident to go to a senior role. We'll hopefully encourage people to take that step. So I'm pleased with this report. Do we accept the recommendation?
Yeah.
Yes, we've got great people, we do need to support them. Yes, not within the budget.
Okay, we've got item 7, which is the revenue and capital outturn report. Ian?
Thanks, Chair. Members have received quarterly updates on budget movements and actual performance during the year. The last report covered the period up to the end of December 22. The purpose of this report is to update members on the revenue, capital, and reserve budget adjustments made in the last quarter of 22-23, the actual outturn position for the year, and any year-end variances. The revenue budget movements in quarter 4 are summarised in paragraph 10. The most significant adjustments relate to the planned drawdown of 2.849 million on reserves. Of this, 2.151 million related to the drawdown from the inflation reserve to cover part of the 7% firefighter payroll and the higher energy costs, and a 0.646 million drawdown from the capital reserve used to increase the revenue contribution towards the new TDA fire station. 0.718 million was drawn down from the inflation provision to cover part of the firefighter pay award, and the remaining adjustments reflect some self-balance requirements and other adjustments as outlined in paragraph 10. The table at the end of paragraph 10, page 62, confirms the final budget is consistent with the original approved budget of 61.792 million. The revenue outturn position, when compared to the final budget, as summarised in the table on the top of page 63, confirmed a year-end revenue underspend of 4.213 billion. After taking into account the 0.924 million of year-end reserves requested by budget managers, needed to cover spend on projects and initiatives that commenced in 2023, but will not be completed until 23-24, reducing the available underspend to 3.289 million. The paragraph 13 on pages 63 to 65 provide members with an explanation of the major revenue variances for 22-23 that resulted in the 3.289 million underspend. And Appendix A1 to A3 provide a detailed analysis of the revenue outturn position. The authority has a strategy of maximising any savings in the year in order to fund increases in reserves, in order to act as a hedge against future financial challenges, fund infrastructure investment, or mitigate other potential cost pressures. The report recommends using the 3.289 million underspend to increase the inflation reserve by 0.382 million to mitigate inflationary pressures in 23-24, and increase the capital reserve by 2.907 million to cover expected capital scheme inflation pressures, fund new infrastructure investments, and reduce future capital borrowing. After taking into account these reserve requests, the overall revenue position is consistent with the revenue budget. The 22-23 capital budget and outturn position is outlined from paragraph 14 to paragraph 20. In quarter 4, the 22-23 capital programme budget increased by 0.19 million. However, the overall 5-year capital budget reduced by 0.455 million. Paragraph 15 on page 65 outlines the capital budget amendments made in quarter 4. The reason for the overall reduction in the capital budget was due to the Home Office putting on hold the Emergency Services Mobile Communication Programme, resulting in a reduction in planned capital spend on this scheme of 0.618 million. As all the adjustments relate to schemes funded by specific resources rather than borrowing, the level of planned borrowing over the 5-year capital programme remains unchanged. The capital outturn position is outlined in paragraphs 17 to 20 on pages 66 to 69 and is summarised in the table on page 67. Actual spend at the end of 22-23 was 6.476 million below the budget. Of this, 6.334 million is now being rephased into 23-24, and paragraph 19 provides an explanation for this rephasing. And a small saving of 0.142 million on various 22-23 schemes was identified at the year end. Appendix B provides a detailed analysis of the capital outturn position. Paragraphs 21 to 30 outline the available reserves in the year, the movements in quarter 4, and the proposed year-end adjustments. Before taking account of any year-end reserve adjustments, committed reserves reduced by 2.849 million in the last quarter to 15.576 million. Paragraph 10 and paragraph 24 of the report outline the quarter 4 reserve movements. This has already been mentioned. At the year-end, officers review year-end revenue position statements, request year-end reserves to carry forward funds to be spent, now expected in 23-24 for future years. Paragraph 25 outlines the 0.924 million of year-end reserves requested by officers. As I said, the report proposes using the 3.289 million revenue underspend to increase the inflation and capital reserves as outlined in paragraph 26 to 27. After taking these adjustments into account, the level of committed reserves reduced by 10.71 million in a year, from 30.499 million to 19.789 million. The table on page 71 and Appendix A4 summarise the movement and the committed reserves opening and closing balances in the year. Members are asked to note the actual revenue spend compared to the approved budget, delivered net underspend of 4.213 million for the creation of year-end reserves, And approve the sum of spending used to create the year-end reserves requested by officers, 0.924 million, from projects that were slipped from 22-23 to future years. Use the remaining underspend, 3.289 million, to increase the inflation reserve by 0.32 million in order to mitigate the risk of revenue inflation pressures in 23 to 24, and increase the capital reserve by 2.907 million in order to mitigate any capital cost inflation and pressures, reduce future planned borrowing, and funding structural investments in order to reduce planned borrowing in future years. Approve the rephasing of planned capital spend in 22-23 into future years of 6.334 million, as outlined in Appendix B, and approve committed reserves of 19.789 million and a general reserve of 3 million, as outlined in Appendix 84. I'm happy to take the questions.
Thank you. Councillor Byron?
Yes, thank you. I was at a meeting down in London last week or before, and I listened with incredulity to a civil servant home office saying, we deliberately put capital into your revenue. It's always been the plan, you know, and I thought, oh, come on now. The minister, it was Kit Malthouse, he was fire minister, so he pulled a piece of paper out of his pocket and said, every authority in the country, said, your Merseyside, we had 19 million for a while. 19 million, you could just use that for pay rise. It's going back a couple of years. You should use that money for pay rise. You know, the penny hasn't dropped with them. They haven't mentioned it, maybe since that row I had with him. I said, well, you're an accountant, it's your profession. You know you can only spend capital once. So we spend on the pay rise, we've done more fire engines on Merseyside. So here, saying that we're going to take part of the underspend is not shortchanging the people of Merseyside on keeping them safe. We've got to do that. That's the plan. The only way to create capital for capital spend is to take some of our revenue and apply it to capital. That's what it's not what we've always done. Unless we have an independent capital grant, which we don't have, it's the only way to make it work. Now we're lobbying on, you know, we would like capital and revenue. I think they're starting to work on this now, but that's why the civil service, I think, said, hey, no, we've included capital in your revenue. So if you're going to have a separate capital grant, we're going to have to reduce your revenue grant by 3%. I don't know. For those members who think, why is it we've not spent all the money we've got on, you know, staffing and safety and all that? It's because we have to keep some money back for capital projects. So we get no capital grant. Thank you.
Any further questions about this report? I was happy with the use of self-balancing payments across the various pots. That made sense to me. I was content to use the inflation reserve to cover the increased cost of the pay award. As Councillor Byron points out, I felt like those pay awards should have been covered by central government, but we are where we are. A question concerns the inflation reserve as it stands. We have put extra money into the inflation reserve, but it's still almost 2/3 lower than it stood last year. Obviously, we can only spend that money once. So going forward, how content are we that we've taken that into account with the medium-term financial plan?
I suppose there's two aspects of the question. Obviously, there's the 22-23 higher pay awards, redundancy reserves ones, put that 22-23. So when members consider the 23-24 budget, then we built in sufficient budget for future years to cover the 22-23 ongoing costs. So the question then comes about, well, the assumption for 23-24 pay awards. We're fortunate in the sense that the firefighters pay awards was agreed as part of the 2-year settlement, 5%, and we built that into the next budget. So the risk in terms of pay for 23-24 surrounds really local government pay off them. It built in 5%. The current offer on the table equates to about 6% increase in the pay bill. It's either £1,925 or 3.88%, whichever is the highest, and that's currently being balanced on by the various unions. the extra 1% above the assumption equates to about £100,000. I'm confident either because using the inflation reserve or it's probably more likely for this year about vacancies that we have in the establishment that allow us to cover the cost for this year out of the employee budget. And then if we can't identify either through the inflation provision or the reserve, that could meet that extra £100,000 cost, we have to consider that as part of the 24/5 budget process. In terms of the non-employee costs for 23 and 24, again, when we prepared the medium-term financial plan, we then assessed the price of energy, business rates, contracts, which are often linked to the April API, increased by not 2% general increase that we always had, but we had about 10% increase in the forecast of what inflation would be. So I'm confident that the inflation provision, that's a permanent resource in the budget, could be this year's ask, unless something comes out of the left field. You know, I doubt it very much, but if the local company payroll will increase significantly, then that might put that assumption at risk. I think in terms of inflation generally, the government view is that that will fall, you know, towards, well, it's going to be calendar year, end of calendar year now, but maybe by the end of the financial year, you know, it might, if, it could be closer to the target 2% or maybe 4%. So that risk may start to remove itself. But I think in the current climate, there is a risk around inflation. And hence the proposal to increase the inflation provision by 300,000 plus to give us some sort of resource that if there's something we don't see, I feel confident that can meet that, given we've already increased the inflation provision and we've increased the assumptions around this year.
The variance was in our favour this year, but we're obviously not always guaranteed yet. So thank you very much, Ian. Any other comments? No? Okay, can members check paragraph 2, page 59? There are 4 recommendations. You know, there's a few different numbers in there, so I want to make sure you have a good read. Are members happy to agree the recommendation?
Yes, please. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Item 8, service delivery plan and end of year report.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. Purpose report request members consider the performance of Merseyside Fire and Rescue Service against the objectives and the performance targets outcomes as set out in the service delivery plan for 2022-23, the period January to March. And the recommendations recommended that members approve the attached service delivery plan and report for publication on our website, and the report being associated documents appendices A to D, the functional plan, the KPIs and LPI end of year report, the IMP and 2021-2024, albeit I'll reference that because actually it doesn't conclude until July 2024, so it's still in the IMP as it currently stands. And the IMP moving forward will change to the community risk management plan, so it'll move from an IMP to a CRMP, and the HMIC FRS update against the actions and recommendations which were applicable to the service, notwithstanding the fact that work has been now revisited in more recent times. The report itself goes on to talk about our performance indicators and where our focus has been and how we benchmark against other services and how we performance manage, and then moves on to talk about the functional plan updates, so the things that officers, the directors, area managers of the service are put into their plans for delivery this year. The HMIC FRS update, as I said, is very much around responding to the inspector's recommendations, either the ones which are directly attributable to Merseyside Fire and Rescue Service, or indeed ones which are national, very significant, such as the Spotlight report, and then the RMP updates, which I'll talk about, you know, to a greater or lesser degree in my kind of update. So the function plans and the updates to the function plans contained within the appendices as I suggested. And you know, and I'm happy to take questions on any element or aspect of those updates, but very much about service delivery and delivering on what we've set out to deliver this year. If we move members on to page 127 of the report itself, that talks about the service delivery plan and particularly around performance and those key performance indicators. And again, I suppose what it suggests is mixed performance really in relation to progress made, some really positive, some really strong performance, and a couple of areas which we're draw members' attention to, particularly on sickness absence, which I know members have sought to scrutinise in a little bit more detail. But we continue to attend more incidents probably than we have done in the past. But that's very much predicated on the fact that actually some of the work we've done with our partners, so police and ambulance services, which we would be encouraged to support, we've sought to do and do really effectively. But actually in relation to our core responsibilities around primary fires have come down quite considerably over that period. And despite the fact that we've had a number of fatalities this year, actually the accidental dwelling fires, which is probably the better indicator of performance, if I'm being absolutely honest, because fatalities can fluctuate, has come down again quite considerably. So if I was to take members back maybe only 2, 3, 4 years at tops, we were talking about seeking to break the thousands, accidental dwelling fires. And subsequently, we've done that year on year since that was the aspiration. And we're now down to 780 accidental dwelling fires across Merseyside. Whilst every one of them is devastating, and certainly the ones where there's a fatality attached, that's considerable positive improvements. And that extends across other property types. And the secondary fires has increased, interestingly, deliberate ones less so, but more accidental. You look at some of the climate changes, the increase in the number of small fires, ghosts, etc., etc. We've seen increases of them over the period of time, particularly associated with hot weather, and we see those increase, but very much accidental in nature, or certainly the majority of them. And then we talk through on page 137 around the total number of false alarm attendants. Alarming, utilisation is increased significantly, exponentially. People are, located and housed in their own homes. But that may well be something that members would like to scrutinise. Part of their work moving forward to just fully understand the work that we're doing, try and address that. And then the other one, which I've referenced, well, notwithstanding the really positive outcomes around the response standard. But if I look at the area where we are red in regard to our performance, it's in relation to sickness absence. So I know members have asked to call that in, that part of their scrutiny arrangements. So I'm content that that will be picked up. The report then moves on to talk about the delivery of our integrated risk management plan. I think I would draw members' attention to the two big key issues, really, and I'll happily pick up any other aspects of it. Firstly, in relation to change, we'll just talk about the Training Development Academy and the merging of Aintree and Croft into the new site at Aintree Long Lane. There's nothing to suggest that that is on track in terms that will be delivered within this ILMP, and we're well on track to do that. The other one, I draw members' attention to is the provision of what we're describing as a Stinger fire appliance. It's a fire appliance which looks quite similar to those you would see when you go to the airport, and so it's got a turret arrangement which allows firefighting as a normal fire engine, but it also allows us to be able to penetrate into buildings, to roof facing through tin, to aggressively firefight. And that's in addition to the capabilities that the authority have currently got. That's there's a fair amount of lead in time now to vehicles and vehicle replacements, but we're still anticipating that to come in within this IMP. There's going to be that kind of those challenges. The rest members are work in progress or actually have been delivered and been completed within the IMP itself. And on that note, I will pause and happily take any questions on any aspect of performance, functional planning, IMP, objectives, or anything else for that matter.
Any questions about the service delivery plan? Councillor.
Can I just a query really? Page 90, was it correct? And the first paragraph, the target is 2023. And it says work will continue 23-24. It won't be finished completed till March 24. I just wondered why the target is 23 when it's not going to be completed till 24.
Right, okay, so is it in relation to Polish?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, so it's been phased PORIS, and so PORIS is an information management system really, and maybe I'll add to what I'm saying now, so we can come with phases around the information that we have available to staff and how readily available that is. It extends across the range of the things that you mentioned, protection and response. And so phases of that are being delivered within that timescale, and it's extended its focus, recognising that we can do other things, hence the reason why the full completion of the project will not be extended to 2024. Still, coming off will be delivered within that functional plan within.
No, I mean, that's fine, I just think we look as though we're failing, and we're not really, because as you've just explained, it's ongoing, but the target date was March 2023.
Yeah, well, that's fair comment, Councillor. What we'll do is we'll get them to amend that to reflect the actual definition now in regard to.
Comments?
Thanks, Chair. Obviously, the main process of the evaluation fire deaths that was done last year, 2010, for years. It's always obviously the look at our inside, that's that, one of the things that was one, was the one with the defense. There was an issue on the PVC breakfast this morning. And we've done a video about those fire, anybody on fire, or somebody else. And there's a campaign now, obviously, we established trying to get the government to change legislation on this. I think we'll ask the question in the past. The government seems to be a bit lax on doing anything about this and changing our legislation. Where we've had seven fire deaths throughout the UK in the last year, it's obviously 7 deaths that could be avoided. And because of the nature of the e-bikes and the delivery batteries and associated with it, I think it makes it very difficult and dangerous for firefighters when they're attending those meetings. So the government really needs to step up on this and take action, because we can't allow it to continue without review of legislation. So can we not support the campaign that's being set up by to call on the government to urgently review the existing legislation, consider making mandatory for the batteries, and to have a third party certification to be placed on the market. But we're not right to the homeowners, or the fire minister, to question that we take this action urgently in order to reduce the amount of incidents and deaths that's happened and what's happened in the past year at the time. So, in the future, and also important for us is to make sure that we protect our staff. Because I think it's just ridiculous where you can see this unfold and yet it's not. And we need to do something about it, we need to make a statement about it. Because if the fire rescue service, or if this campaign is account support, so as chair, take some action on this. Are you writing to the authorities to make sure that we support this campaign, we support changing legislation, but we actually do as urgently as possible. Because any further delay is only going to have serious consequences on all of the service and the public. So we need to do something about it. So if we can do something on that, well, we've got a few questions.
Yeah, no,
I just wanted to come in and second that, because I think it's absolutely appalling when we were at Bell Bay. We had the opportunity of speaking to one of the firefighters there who was doing a bit of work on the lithium batteries and things like that. And we did say we would bring the report to share with us. We highlighted how dangerous they were. I saw that programme on the television, and I do think we should be writing to government and expressing our severe concerns. Because our firefighters are part of us every day, and members of the public as well. So I think it's vital we do something.
on the same topic?
Yeah.
Go on then.
I agree with everything that's been said. I think something must be done, but I'm not sure what should be done. Because I think there's the first requirement here that there's actually research on this topic. Because I mean, because at the weekend there was a ship on the Netherlands that was transporting electric cars, and they think one of them caught fire in transit, and I think there was a fatality involved in that as well. So I do think this technology is so new that we do need fundamental research to find out what would be the most effective methods of combating these fires, and that would be the first step, and then go down the legislative route. That's just my view. I hope someone can disagree with me.
Chair, there was a conference session on this at the Fire Conference in February. And the government have also just announced a major plant, Tata, are going to develop a large plant in the Midlands. As was said at that conference, the technology is changing. Silicon ion batteries are coming, which are much safer, not perfectly safe. Combustion engine isn't safe. You know, petrol isn't safe. But there's lots of stuff. There are, as we have in Merseyside, there are battery farms. There are batteries in cars which are generally properly manufactured and reasonably safe. Then there are these poor quality batteries that people are in the fatality in Google. Somebody had converted a bike to an electric bike with an engine and with a battery and the charging it. And it's those sort of homemade bombs. So, I mean, what we've been lobbying the government for is to increase the regulations on poor quality batteries, to increase the information and awareness of the danger, even down to the little batteries in these vapes and other devices. And so we should engage ourselves completely. The LGA are lobbying on this, there's some coordinated lobbying and the whole thing about this technology and what we need to do about it. The work is going on and we need to throw ourselves in with it.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. Some assurances and some less assurances. So, from a Fire Service nationally, the National Fire Chiefs Council are well aware of the risks and inherent risks with lithium batteries and alternative fuels more broadly. And I've got people leading on that in relation to that work. From a Merseyside perspective, we've had the crew manager John O'Doyle who'd be put onto the project and they looked at a piece of work and has been working on that for the last 6 months, and that links directly back into the project recognising the kind of risks for the public and the firefighters, and not just singularly being about the risks to the public. And equally in the budget that we just set, we allocated £50,000 for work around alternative fuels, which is really kind of well received and supports that activity moving forward. And there's a range of kind of risks. So the battery energy storage systems, the sites that we know are dotted around Merseyside, heavily the vehicles, and we know the kind of risks associated with vehicles. There's electric bikes, the double fatality that we had in Merseyside, which stimulated the kind of question around fatality, is down to, as Councillor Barnes described, charging of an electric bike, having purchased the charging system off the internet. And we equally know that people are utilising some of the storage arrangements in their own properties because they're drawing from photoelectric cells on their roofs to power within battery and storage systems in the home. So we know now there's a number of kind of risks for us, and we have put in place arrangements to be able to deal with those instances as effectively as we can at this moment in time. Councillor Maloney's kind of comment there around the research. We've got some research, we know it's a problem. We're also trying to work through what the solutions are. not every solution, or every problem has a solution as yet. But it is very much in the spotlight for, fire and rescue services, not only in Merseyside, nationally, and actually some of the work that we're doing internationally as the National Fire Chiefs Council extends to the USA. It'll probably be in the vanguard of some of the stuff more latterly. And there, I won't get all three of their actually priority areas. Wildfire is one, but renewable and alternative fuels is the other. And so this work needs to be our focus. Notwithstanding that, I'm more than happy to put on record on behalf of our authority my kind of concerns over the use of lithium batteries with the inherent risk with them, and also supporting campaigns for the stipulations around their utilisation and more than consensus on behalf of the authority to put that in writing, and we'll do on the conclusion and confirmation that that's what the authority wanted to do.
Just more questions. The ones on drones, our use of drones. I seen a video a couple of weeks back. It was China or somewhere like that. They actually use drones to post on highways. I'm not saying that, that's amazing. It's a piece of technology and equipment. But there's probably issues with that because it was obviously the drones will have to be processed.
Yeah.
Weather and the things like that, all the weather conditions, as well as the weight and the power of the jets and things like that. And I thought that it was real, but I think that if something like that could actually be developed and could be used, the likes of Denver, actually, goodness, would be absolutely fantastic. So it's saying that fire, but it might be something for the future. And there was a little bit of comments in the group that was on Facebook or on Twitter. We're going to see that, and we're watching this video, so that's amazing. If it was China, it shouldn't launch it. So, as the world, if it's something that's actually being explored by the fire and rescue service in this country, because of the world, it's fantastic.
So, drones are extensively used across the fire and rescue service now. But for a multitude of things, we're getting visibility around the fire from height, and including it to identify where the hotspots are and where the fire is developing, and being utilised on waste recycling plants as well in regards to getting to the car, the seat of the fire, utilised around searching for people and so on and so forth. And this is all part of our conversation locally now in regards to innovation, creativity, and what we want to continue to put into our community management plan for the future. Because you have to get the vanguard of some of this work, and whether you need it as it stands, and this is my take on it, you need a pretty substantial drone to be able to deliver a jet of water, which would be sufficient to deal with a ground prototype, for instance, without the jet reaction, taking the drone clear out the air. Notwithstanding that, this is innovation, and self-evidently we've taught that. I'll use a different example. You can get drones now to drop off defibrillators. You can get the drones to actually pick up kit equipment. So if you were to use this, which is self-evident for us, we've got marine risk in regards to the Mersey, and we quite often we've deployed the Marine Fire 1, but equally on occasion we can find ourselves where individuals are in the Mersey and we can't get crews in quick enough. Not beyond the drift, but for us to be able to drop something utilising drone technology for the individual who may be just wanting to float and then be able to subsequently rescue them with Marine Fire 1. It's that kind of creativity that we are looking to explore now, and part of the work that sits under the research and development team. So look at all of those things and be at the forefront of innovation. So I will definitely ask someone to take a look at the footage that you're describing. Not sure we're there yet, but self-evidently there are other ways and capabilities that we can utilise drones for, and it's certainly part of our thinking as it stands now.
No question? Anyone else? Okay, with all that being said then, are we happy to adopt the recommendation as set out on page 85?
Yes, thank you, Chair.
Can I just ask if there's an additional recommendation to now be added for the chief fire officer, put in writing, the position and delivery and actually to the government? Those?
I'll come back to the LGA.
That organisation is actually got the electrical safety phase campaign.
But, yeah,
It's not for Manchester.
All right, with that all being said, we bring the meeting to a close. The date for the next meeting is the 14th of December,
All right, yes.
I've got something really quick. We've got social media triggers.